authority to go ahead and issue these kinds of pardons?
Well, there are 2 points. One is I would agree with Susan that first, if you can use pardons, but you can't use them for corrupt purposes like obstruction of justice. So this could be evidence of obstruction. But I will slightly disagree. The Constitution does set limits itself on the pardon power. There's a 1974 Supreme Court case that indicates that within the Constitution, that sets limits on the pardon power. So keep in mind, the Constitution says that the president shall take care that the laws be faithfully executed. And my co-author, Ethan Lieb, and I have new historical research that suggests that that was a limit on presidential abuse of power, that a president couldn't use those powers to benefit himself to the detriment of the country. We'd suggest that a president cannot pardon himself or co-conspirators because that would be unfaithful execution and violate his fiduciary duties. So that argument could potentially apply if he's using pardons to set up precedents for pardoning himself or for saving himself from an investigation.
Susan, what do you think of that argument?
No, so I think that the issue is not whether or not the power is absolute. The issue is if he does it, and I would agree that this would be a violation of the Take Care Clause and his oath of office. The issue is if he does actually violate it, I don't see any mechanism for reviewing or remedying that isn't ultimately a political remedy.
What does it say to you, Professor, that the president is also now publicly considering pardons to Martha Stewart and Governor Rod Blagojevich?
Again, you can see the connections to obstruction of justice and bribery. Blagojevich was selling off a nomination. The Russia investigation is also involving bribery, so there's that connection. And Martha Stewart was convicted of obstruction of justice and false statement. It's almost like President Trump went through a list of potential crimes that he and his White House could be charged with and found pardons for other people to lay the groundwork. The connection, the timing, and the underlying crimes just are too coincidental that line up with the Russia investigation.
You know, it's interesting. Preet Bharara, who was the U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York, who prosecuted the case against D'Souza, he had this to say on Twitter, and Preet is now a CNN contributor, as you know. Quote, "The president has the right to pardon, but the facts are these. D'Souza intentionally broke the law, voluntarily pled guilty, apologized for his conduct, and the judge found no unfairness. The career prosecutors and agents did their job, period." D'Souza responded with a tweet of his own, quote, "Bharara and his goons bludgeoned me into the plea by threatening to add a second redundant charge carrying a prison term of 5 years. Karma is a bitch department. Preet Bharara wanted to destroy a fellow Indian American to advance his career. Then he got fired and I got pardoned." Does it strike you, Susan, as unusual to see an exchange like this following a presidential pardon?
Sure. So it's sort of astonishing, right? I think what we're seeing Preet do is stand up for the rule of law, stand up for the integrity of his institution. Now, he's acknowledging that the president has the right to nullify that decision, but I do think he's